Welcome to Two Doctors Homestead. My name's Daniel. This is another 30 Days of Preparedness 2024 video. We're talking about food storage, long-term food storage, and this video is going to be two parts. We're going to talk about long-term food storage, and then we're going to pack a bunch of food in a Mylar bag in a bucket, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll walk you through that as well, but let's talk about 30 Days of Preparedness. I want to thank, of course, Big Valley Living for inviting us to the collaboration. It's been a lot of fun. This is our last video. This is our fourth collab video here. So the sponsor of the collaboration's Avid Armor. There's a live giveaway. There's prizes. Live giveaway held on 4:30 p.m. Monday, September 30th, 2024 on Big Valley Living's channel. And that is Pacific time. They're on the West Coast, Pacific time. Of course, watch all the channels. Go back if you haven't seen all the videos. Watch the videos. Leave a meaningful comment, right? Don't be snarky. I'll delete your comment if you're snarky. So in order to be considered for the giveaway, you've got to leave the channels or leave comments on the videos, and they do this picker algorithm. That's all in Big Valley Living on their channel. They'll explain all the rules if you're interested in getting involved in the big giveaway, right? Of course, only legal residents in the United States. So we did the intro to prepping, we did building a survival bucket, we did water filtration, and this is long-term food storage, right? And we do our Prepper Pantry series. We've been doing that for a long time. We're focused on long-term food storage. And I just went into that, right? We just did a Prepper Pantry, just went into that a little bit, but why long-term food storage, right? And every time there's a storm out here in Texas, you drive by the store, the grocery store, Walmart, H-E-B, whatever you like, Kroger, and there's a line of cars outside, parking lot's packed, people are going nuts inside, packing carts full of dumb stuff like gallons of milk and bread. Some of it's frozen foods, right? And everyone goes panic buys food. Oh my God, there's going to be a 3-day storm. We need to get as much food as possible to survive this 3-day storm, because DoorDash might not be running, right? And the millennials won't have any idea. Sorry guys, but you know what I'm talking about, right? You won't be able to get your dinner. So we try to encourage people to build out a long-term food storage pantry. Right, it doesn't have to be super expensive. It does take some space, right? You're going to need to work out how you're going to store the food. We certainly would encourage you to buy food you eat and rotate your pantry. You don't want stuff going bad. You don't want to fill up the pantry full of food you won't eat. But if you build it up over time, a couple canned goods a week or whatever makes sense for you, you can build up a long-term food storage pantry, whether you're trying to get weeks ahead of the game or years ahead of the game. That depends on you, your strategy, how much of a crazy prepper you might be, right? Whatever your strategy is. But when we're talking about food storage, long-term food storage, we split the pantry up into, you could say, 3 parts. You've got your short-term working pantry, things like the stuff in your fridge, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, any of that stuff, loaf of bread that's not going to have months or years of shelf life, right? You've got to get to that first. That's your short-term pantry. We go to mid-term foods that are going to be a year, maybe a couple years, right? You're going to have some time to eat them. They don't have to be in the front of the pantry. You know, stuff like your canned peaches. These are great, or jarred peaches. This is, what's the date on this? You know, I know it was a couple years. I'm not seeing it now, unless I can't really read that code. But stuff that might have a year, 2 years, something like that. That's your midterm. That's your working pantry, or your midterm pantry. And then you go long-term. What's long-term? Well, certainly freeze-dried is long-term. This is like 25 plus years. But you can also make your own long-term. You don't have to buy freeze-dried, which is about the most expensive you're going to see. So we'll walk you through it. Stuff like just your basic dry goods, your long-grain rice. You've got your lentils. You know, if you pack these in Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, you can extend the shelf life if you store them properly. They're going to last a very long time, and they're affordable and nutrient dense, right? We've talked about that. 1 pound of rice is more or less, depending on you, a day's worth of food, 100 or 1,600 calories, and you can usually get it for $1 or less. So if you're building out your long-term food storage pantry, you can focus in on things like that. We just did Prepper Pantry video. We talked about hardtack that you can make yourself. This is just flour, water, maybe salt. Once again, very long shelf life and very affordable. Flour If you only get the 5-pound bag, flour is about 47 cents a pound. If you go bigger bags, it's a lot less expensive, and stuff like that, if stored properly, could last a very long time. You know, another thing, mid to long is canned goods. So we got my little canned ham here, super tasty. You know, when you talk to people about shelf life of canned goods, some people say forever. I know there was a thing where they said, oh, there was one that was 100 years old, and they opened it up and it had no bacteria, no harmful bacteria, so it was safe to eat. I believe from looking at that, it also didn't have a lot of nutritional value. It didn't really resemble food at that point. That aside, they can last a long time. They can potentially last past the best by date. You just have to use your best judgment. So things like canned goods could be midterm, could be long-term, right? And we've done that. We've done the canned goods. We've got the canned goods. They're quick. They're easy. They're not always the cheapest option. You know, if you're going for cheaper options, I said, make your hardtack, get your dry goods, right? Get your rice, get your beans, put them in the Mylar bags, and that'll last a very long time. So there's an opportunity there. It's getting a little bit hot out here. Opportunity to build that out, to build up that pantry. It doesn't have to be super expensive. It doesn't have to be canned meat and peaches or whatever you've got, right? So we got a working pantry. We've got a long-term pantry. When we talk about calories, right, there's usually two numbers we'll talk about when we talk about calories. There's 2,000 calories, which is considered the average diet, and sometimes we'll talk about 1,200 calories, which is considered the starvation level. Now, obviously, that depends on you. You know, someone that's 7 feet tall is going to have a different calorie requirement than someone that's 4 feet tall, right? So obviously, depends on the person, depends on you. So that's a little bit about long-term food storage. You see, we got the canning jars. We do a lot of our home canning, pressure canning. We got the pressure canner. We got the water bath canner. Things from the garden, right? You can pressure can, you can water bath can. Follow the recipes, follow the ball cookbook. Seriously, I know Rebel canning, the idea sounds cool. It's got Rebel in it. Until you get sick or until you get someone else sick, right? Botulism's no joke. The kind of nasty stuff, salmonella, E. coli, that can grow if you're not doing it properly, not as cool as the idea of being a Rebel canner. But home canning, absolutely an option. You got a big garden. We process our own animals, so we can that. The stuff we're not going to eat, we can. Freezer can be part of your long-term pantry. I try to de-emphasize that, though we have our freezers packed full of good stuff. In a Shtf situation, in a grid down situation, in a winter storm, we lost power. People in the area lost power for a week. Fortunately, it's winter, so it's cold, but, you know, the moment you lose power, the stuff in your freezer starts getting pretty questionable. So I don't usually consider the freezer part of your long-term food storage. Certainly you can store food in there. It's revolutionary, right? Having the freezer extends the shelf life of everything. So that's good, but when you're planning your pantry, maybe not. Maybe not so much if you're on the prepper side, right? And this is National Preparedness Month, so I'm telling you the fridge isn't, or the freezer isn't always the best option for long term. I mean, you can have a backup generator. We have solar backup. I've shown that in a couple videos before. I could run my freezers off the solar backup and whatnot. Those are all options. Those are all things you can do. I'm not telling you not to, right? But in terms of building out your own long-term food storage pantry, so you just start out, get a couple extra cans a week, right? We don't, you know, it may look like we're hoarding, but we actually eat this, right? We eat the food, we rotate the food. So it's not about hoarding food. It's just about building a buffer between yourself and any kind of supply chain issues, whether that's a winter storm or something else, something bigger. Maybe you just don't like going to the store every week. Maybe you're prepared in case you lose a job, right? And food's expensive, and having that food protects you from inflation. So that was kind of the talk. I think I want to talk a little bit about just the ideas behind building that long-term pantry. Now I'm going to go inside, and we're actually going to pack a bunch of stuff into a bucket and a Mylar bag and talk a little bit about that. So stick around. We're changing scenes here. All right, so now we're going to show you guys how to pack food in a Mylar bag in a 5-gallon bucket. So I was just talking about long-term food storage. We have our 5-gallon bucket from Atwoods, a 5-gallon Mylar bag. We have our 500cc oxygen absorbers, and then we have our impulse bag sealer right here. So here people use a flat iron, instead of the impulse bag sealer. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a little while now. If you look online, they have mac and cheese buckets. You can get these. One is a 27-pound bucket of mac and cheese for $200 for a 27-pound bucket of mac and cheese. If you look on Amazon, they have $249 for a bucket of mac and cheese. I did the math. That looks like that's only 8 pounds of mac and cheese, but the big 27-pound bucket of mac and cheese everyone was going crazy about is $200 right now. So kind of looked at it, did the math. We are going to do our own mac and cheese bucket. This is just great value macaroni and cheese, thick and creamy. Now this is the low end on the price structure, right? So if you want to go higher price, you can, but let me kind of break it down what we're doing here. We got 50 boxes of the thick and creamy mac and cheese for $29. $29 gets you 23 pounds of mac and cheese, 50 boxes, 58 cents a box. If you want to do the $1 a box, you can. That's going to be probably 50 bucks or something instead of 29. Still a lot less than the $200 for the 27-pound bucket, right? So $29 for our mac and cheese, $4 for the bucket, $1.98 for the bucket lid, $1.60 for the Mylar bag, and then we're using 5 of the oxygen absorbers, which is $1.20. So our total cost, $37.78 for what's going to work out to 23 pounds of mac and cheese in the 5-gallon bucket. So we're going to start this. We'll get Janet in here loading the bucket while I'm talking. It's going to take a few minutes. We weren't sure, quite the best way how we want to do it. So we're just going to scoop it in. You hold it. All right. So in terms of shelf life here on the mac and cheese, we know dry noodles have an exceptionally long shelf life. You can Google that. As long as they stay dry, just regular dry noodles, you've seen mac and cheese before, have a very long shelf life. Is it 10, 20, 30 years? Could be in that range, if not longer. I don't know for sure the shelf life on the dry cheese packets. I just don't know. It's dry cheese. It can probably last a really long time. So we're not going to put the packets in the Mylar bag. We're going to put them in the bucket just in case something happened where the packet went bad, it swelled up. I wouldn't want it in with the noodles and potentially pollute the noodles. So we're just going to jam those in the bucket at the end. But essentially we're talking about $37.78. Gets you 150 servings at 260 calories per serving, so a total of 39,000 calories. So if you're doing that in 2,000 calorie days, that gets you about 20 days worth of food in the bucket. So 20 days worth of food with the bucket and the bag and all of it, $37. So we got our mac and cheese. How's it looking? I think that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to seal the bag and then try to jam all these in the bucket. If they don't fit, we could store them somewhere else. So I don't really know the shelf life. You don't need to repackage. It's already a sealed packet. But just in case, I mean, if it swells up or something, I wouldn't want it in with the noodles. So we've got our bag sealers ready to go. We have our oxygen absorbers. This is a 10-pack. You can see it's got the little red square, which means it's still good. We're going to put 5 in here, and then we're going to put 5 in here, and we can save these for another project. So let's do the 5 in there, and then we'll do the 5 in there. The bag sealer should already be heated up. It's been plugged in a little bit. I always struggle with the temperature on this thing. So there's other options if you don't want the bag sealer. It depends on the thickness of the bag, and these 5-gallon bags are pretty thick. So once you open it, it's sort of go time. They start absorbing oxygen, so you don't want to dilly-dally on this part. We're going to count 5. 5 in there, and then we're going to put 5 in the mason jar. And seal this up, and we can try to use these some other time, right, for different projects. So with that, I'm going to come around here. And what we normally try to do on these, since it's too big to do in one go, we kind of come at it at angles. Jen knows what she's doing. We've done a lot of these before. So we're going to try to come in basically like a crisscross here at a bit of an angle. Try to go about halfway. It's a little bit hotter. That doesn't look like it's sealed. Let me turn it up a little bit.
It's sealed.
What is it? Okay, all right. Spin it. Thank you. Okay. And I always like to do a couple times, so let's hit that side again. Spin it. All right, so we should be double sealed. That looks good to go right at this point. So that's 39,000 calories, 20 days worth of food for $37. And we'll just jam these in. So we'll check it in a couple days. That should be enough oxygen absorption to give the bag nice and tight. Said they recommend 300 cc's per gallon. This is a 5-gallon bucket. I like to do 500 cc's per gallon, so it's 5 500s instead of 5 300s. You do what works for you, and as you can see, the longer it's exposed, it's got the little indicator starting to turn black. It won't be long before that's black. So that's an option if you're talking about real long-term prepper in the bunker food storage. That'll certainly get you there. That's 39,000 calories. That's at least 20 days worth of food in a 5-gallon bucket. So hope that helps out, guys. So back to where we were. So this is 30 Days of Preparedness 2024. Sponsor the collaboration's Avid Armor. Once again, thank you, Big Valley Living, also a friend of ours, for hosting the collaboration, for inviting us to the collaboration. Stay tuned for the live giveaway. Check out their channel. Check out all the channels. Watch all the videos. They're great videos. It's a good time to get prepared. So, as always, thank you for watching, and we appreciate you.